Thank you. Do I hear a motion to go into to come out of closed session?
So moved.
Second? Second. Ms. Davis, could you poll us, please?
Mr. Reimer?
Aye.
Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
Mr. Pagano?
Aye.
Ms. Cunha?
Aye.
Ms. Dombrowski?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. The motion having been passed, Mr. Vaught, could you please read the certification of the closed session?
Whereas the New Kent County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded note and in accordance with the provision of Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the New Kent County School Board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the New Kent County School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the New Kent County School Board.
Do I hear a motion to approve the certification of the closed session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Ms. Davis, could you please poll the board?
Mr. Reimer?
Aye.
Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
Mr. Pagano?
Aye.
Ms. Cunha?
Aye.
Ms. Dombrowski?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
So moved. We are now in open session. Do we have someone who is going to lead us today in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I believe that is us, unless I just picked somebody out of the crowd. Oh, we made eye contact. Would you like to lead us in the pledge? Yes. Come on up.
Thank you very much for volunteering.
That's what
Please
you get for
rise.
making eye contact with me.
Or do I just...
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I will take major grief for that the next time I'm at New Kent Middle School, but it was definitely worth it to catch her off guard.
So our school spotlight for today is New Kent High School with Mr. Chris Valrigi.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members, Dr. Nichols. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity tonight to showcase some of our great students at New Kent High School. Today's date for this month, it's very appropriate. As Mr. Miller will elaborate a little later on, it's actually Youth Art and Music in Our Schools Month. And so to commemorate that, we've brought some members of our choir. This is our SATB choir, which I learned tonight stands for, quite naturally, soprano, alto, tenor, and bass choir. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Hess. Mr. Hess is our music department at New Kent High School. If it's played, if it's sung, if it's anything with an instrument or vocals, Mr. Hess is our guy. So at this time, right in.
1 second. Good evening, Dr. Nichols and ladies and gentlemen of the school board. My name is Brandon Hess, and currently I teach band, choir, and guitar at the high school. Tonight we have a music presentation from some of our members of our mixed New Kent Chorale. However, before we sing to you, I have a couple words for you all about the month that just began and some recognitions of achievement. We just began Music in Our Schools Month, and first I just wanted to thank you for the support in the past and moving forward for the arts in our district. Some communities in the southeast of Virginia are having music pulled from the schools on a widespread level, and I'm glad that this wonderful county believes that the arts are valuable and part of a complete education. In my programs, we have state champions in baseball, softball, we have state-level gymnasts and runners, we have cheerleaders, thespians, artists, and football players. Music is non-discriminatory and opens everyone's confidence and connections for those around them. I would challenge anyone to find a more engaged student than a choir band member in the sight reading room at our assessment in a couple weeks. The active collaboration that has to occur is amazing. These students are some of the best that we have in the school. With that being said, I want to recognize 2 students tonight that have achieved beyond normalcy. First is Mia Forbes. Mia is a freshman in my choir that sings in both of my choirs, actually. Back at the district choir event in February, she was selected in an audition against the best altos in Richmond and placed 4th in our district. Therefore, she was chosen to represent Richmond, Henrico, Hanover, New Kent, and West Point at the All Virginia Choir, where she joins a select few New Kent students and alumni. So, Mia Forbes. Secondly, I would like to recognize Isaiah Coles. Isaiah is a junior tuba player in our band program. On Saturday, February 24th, he traveled to JMU as a representative of our district to audition against the top 2 tubists in the other 17 districts of the state. Overall, Isaiah placed 1st in our state, which, as far as I know, puts him as the only New Kent student in history to do so on any instrument. So Isaiah is quickly moving towards his goal of being a professional musician in the future, and one that's setting history in New Kent County. So Isaiah Coles. Finally, to my right, we have about 18 members of our choir, which is about half of our SATB choir. Other people have jobs and other obligations that couldn't be here, but we are going to be performing one of our assessment pieces, which is Circa Mea by Mark Burroughs. The song borrows text from Latin, which comes from the work Carmina Burana. We hope you enjoy it. All right. So over here. And while they're getting set up, a couple public service announcements. Tomorrow at the high school, we have a short presentation to preview for what we are doing at our assessment, which is like our SOLs. The band goes to their assessment on the 16th, and the choir will be joining the band on the Thursday following it, I believe. So let's move y'all over a little bit. Here, and then... Will, can I get a D and an A? One, two,
sunt suspiria, circa mea vectora, multa sunt suspiria, circa mea vectora, multa sunt suspiria.
And we have two soloists. We have Mia Forbes and Autumn Wallace. Thank you all.
Thank you. That was beautiful. So what is next for in the school spotlight? That's going to be a hard act to follow.
I feel bad that I'm the one that has to follow that. Yeah, I feel really bad that I actually have to follow the singing on that one. But we don't all just sing well. We do a lot of other things well, too. So our chair is going to navigate past the TV. We have a couple of state champions from winter season that we'd like to recognize right now. So I will introduce you first to Tristan Carter, who is the state champion wrestler at 113 pounds.
Great job.
You want to stand right over there for me? It's perfect. So Tristan is state champion wrestler. This is his second back-to-back state championship. He's also a sophomore, so if you do the math, statistically, that's all he could do at this point. So we look forward to a couple more years with Tristan. Got to see him in action in Salem and put on a dominant performance. So he is joined here by family/coaches. So if you guys will stand as well. All right, so Tristan, you got to stay there just a little bit longer because he is not the only state champion we have here. This one just happened, and we were actually going to honor this young man for a different reason, so it worked out. I appreciate him getting a state championship along the way. So Isaac Lampert is the 3,200-meter state champion. So Isaac won that state championship this past weekend? I think so, yeah. Okay, very good. Isaac is a senior with us and is going on to do triathlon post-secondary at Wingate. There you go. So excited for Isaac as well. So another Isaac's family coaches here as well. I think they're in the back if they want to wave. Incredible partnership. Isaac is not done yet because we still have spring season to go. So we'll invite him back in June, I have a feeling. So while we have Isaac here and Tristan up here as well, so very cool opportunity for Isaac as a senior. He was named the 2024 Richmond Youth Athlete of the Year. So we do a lot of things well in New Kent, but here's two outstanding young men who are also outstanding students and just great kids to hang around. So thank you both for being here and congratulations. Not to be outdone by the singing or the athletic feats, we have some state champion beta participants with us tonight. And we want to congratulate them. All of these students have the opportunity to compete at the national level, which I believe is in Savannah, Georgia, in June. So very excited. You will see that there are a ton of national qualifiers. Very proud of our students in Beta. For those of you that may not be familiar with Beta, Beta really focuses on 4 main pillars. So these students excel in academic achievement, character, leadership, and service. So what an incredible thing to be recognized for. I got to spend some time with these students and their sponsors at the Hampton Convention Center and got to see a lot of this in action. So impressive doesn't even begin to express how awesome these students are. So students, when I call your name, I'll just go through the list. Please stand and stay standing at your seat. So if you are the first one to call, you're going to stand for a little while, but you deserve the recognition. So I want to congratulate these junior Beta students who will compete in one way, shape, or form at nationals. So we have Gavin Weaver, and I'll go Eric Shannon, Brinley Hockman, Charlotte Ramsey, Lucas Gold, Grady Fleischman, Colton Simmons, Rowan Hagee, Sebastian Beckner, Zoe Tadlock, James Burrell, Olivia Davis, Kaylin Clements, Grant Evans, Harper Hall, Levi Johnson, Grady Van Dyke, Aiden Abraham, Julian Poorman, Andrew Perot, Aaliyah Luntzer, who also helped us earlier, Mariah Urquhart, Jackson Badger, Kinsley Sigmund, Olivia Hudson, Sabrina Morgan, I may need a break, Claire Richards, Finn Miller, Deja Wallace, Sabrina Morgan, Susie Terry, Alyssa Luntzer, who actually helped us, Owen Rudd, Ryan Harris, Chloe Smolnick, Paige Richards, Emma Stone, Danica Cornwright, Isabella Smiley, Jeremiah Martin, Aubrey Locks, Audrey Hudson, Abigail Beatty, Scarlett Rogers, Owen Stroop, Virginia Morgan, Izzy Atkins, Ainsley Allen, and Olivia Fish. Please give all of these students a round of applause.
Thank you very much.
These students represent New Kent Elementary and New Kent Middle School. So Mr. Frank Wheeler is here from New Kent Middle School, and Dr. Teresa O'Day is here from New Kent Elementary School. Parents and families, we couldn't do this without you. We know all the hours you put in. And speaking of hours you put in, I'm going to kick it over to you, Ms. Luntzer.
Is it? Yep. The week of February 5th through the 9th is Sponsor Appreciation Day, and we are in the middle of convention every year, so our sponsors get underlooked often. My daughter is the 8th grade president of the Junior Beta, Alyssa Luntzer, and my 4th grader, Aaliyah Luntzer, was just inducted. Alyssa got second in hand-drawn anime, and Aaliyah got first with her group in 3D design. So if you ever travel to nationals and watch these ladies at work, they are underpaid and underappreciated. As a parent that watches all the front line and behind the scenes, my honest recommendation, Dr. Nichols, is a JV coaching stipend, because they work all year, not just for a season. But without further ado, we would like to appreciate them tonight. So I have Miss Jamie Collins. Please come here. Thank you for all you do for us. And on behalf of all... Miss Danielle Wallace, will you please come here? We have a Miss Taggart who's not available to be here tonight, but Miss Collins will help with the middle school. Elementary, Miss Simmons, will you please come here? Then we have two more assistant sponsors that go on volunteer only, and that would be Miss Kimberly Beasley, who couldn't be here tonight, and Miss Stephanie Wright. So thank you for letting us appreciate them tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you. Sponsors, I was under strict orders not to let you know this was occurring tonight, so you cannot blame me on this.
So next on our agenda is the recognition of March as Youth Art and Music in our Schools Month. Mr. Miller?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Nichols. This is a little anticlimactic because earlier they already announced this, but...
Are you singing?
I'm not singing, sorry. Not tonight. But this is Youth Art and Music in our Schools Month, and as you're aware, we have an amazing set of teachers who inspire our students and extremely talented students, as you saw earlier tonight, who take part in our arts and our music programs. So we just want to honor them tonight. A couple things. I threw a picture of the poster for Little Mermaid is coming up in May at the high school. Also, we will be having Celebration of the Arts in the month of May. That will be held on a Saturday in the high school, and those announcements will be coming out soon. So thank you for all your support of our arts program.
Next, we have recognition of School Social Worker Week. Mr.
Miller's going to pitch in on this one,
sorry.
too.
Sorry to disappoint. So as you're aware, this is School Social Work Week, and or March 3rd through the 9th is, and we have a group of school social workers who do a lot for our students and our families. And so they both work directly with students, but also directly with our families to make sure they have things that they need as well. And so those are Pam Brooks, who works with New Kent Middle School and Quentin Elementary School, Carolyn Kelly, who works with the high school, and then Sarah Frakowiak, who works with New Kent Elementary School and George Watkins. And they do a lot, and we're very thankful for all that they do for our students and families. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. With that, we're going to have a short recess where those of you who have been receiving recognition can adjourn or leave, and after we'll start the regular meeting back up at 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Congrats on baseball too. Awesome.
They don't need to do that.
You're very welcome. You deserve it. So under-recognized.
Standing room up.
Hard time with conversations.
It is so amazing. We got some good kids.
started out.
How are you? You see these amazing kids we got? Oh, really? It just, how are you? I am so proud of them, and you know, and you see it day in and day out.
Absolutely.
And when I look at our superintendent, how he interacts with these kids, and they respond, it's amazing. It is. We are so fortunate. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. I could have them on Sunday morning to lead in preaching. I'm doing well. How are you?
We're going to call the meeting back to order here. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. But now you guys have had an opportunity to review the items listed on the consent agenda, including the minutes from the previous meetings, monthly bills and payroll, and the superintendent's recommendation regarding personnel and student matters. Excuse me. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Second.
Motion and second has been made. Ms. Davis, could you please poll us?
Mr. Reimer?
Aye.
Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
Mr. Pagano?
Aye.
Ms. Cunha?
Aye.
Ms. Dombrowski?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Motion having been passed, we'll move on now to new business. The first item on new business is the fiscal year 23-24 calendar update. Mr. Nichols, could you address this?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, I'd be honored to. We are moving into spring, and it looks like we'll be back-to-back no snow day champions. It does not look as snow is on the horizon, and we have additional time built into the schedule. So knowing that, I'd like to propose a calendar change. Want to do this in March to give families plenty of notice about the possible change. So we are required to have at least 990 hours of instructional time. We far exceed that, and I wouldn't recommend taking it down to the minimum, but there is room to provide a couple of additional days for students and staff. So my recommendation tonight, which would come before you for action, would be to take Friday, May 24th, and turn that into a student and staff holiday. That makes the Memorial Day weekend a 4-day weekend. We have been able to do that in calendars before. This year did not offer that opportunity. So that would be one recommendation. And then the second recommendation would be we're currently scheduled to be in school until June 14th, which is a Friday. It would be that we would take 2 days off the end of the year, Thursday, June 13th, and Friday, June 14th, which would mean Tuesday and Wednesday would be the final 2 early release days. So in total, it would be a change of 3 days, the Friday for Memorial Day weekend, and then the Thursday and Friday. The Thursday and Friday are even more significant because we come back to school a week earlier next year. So it provides teachers and staff a little bit of reprieve in that nature. So if unforeseen weather does happen, we still have time built in to utilize, so it does not put us at that bare minimum. So be happy to answer any questions. We did ask for a lot of feedback for staff. Staff had a lot of opinions on this one. So we took those recommendations and put it forward to be your recommendation tonight. So be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any discussion among the board? Nobody raising any discussion. Let's move on to the next agenda item. Summer programming update. Mr. Miller. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Nichols, I wanted to come before you this month and give you a little bit of a preview of where we're headed with our summer programming. At the end of last summer, said we would probably be making a few changes, so just wanted to give you an update of where we're at. So the theme for this year is going to be launch into the new year, and so launching kids into the next grade level, getting them ready, and making sure they're prepared. Here we go. All right. So this summer, we're using a mixture of funds, and with that, we're also going to be taking a look at sort of the way in which we provide summer programming. And so with the all-in funding that came in this year, we're going to be using some of that, and along with finishing up our ESSER fund. So this summer, we're changing the focus up a bit. We're going to be more targeted in what we're providing and who we're providing it to. So this is going to be targeted remediation for students and to get them ready for the next grade level. And so we'll be taking a look at both current year content as well as upcoming content to prepare students. Focused in areas of reading, math, and then we also will have STEM in there to give some science and engineering skills as well. At the high school level, we will have our typical recovery courses, but then we'll also have some SOL prep courses in there and some remediation courses as well, just to get people ready. And then for our students with disabilities who qualify, we'll have extended year programs, just like we always do. So a little bit more about it. So we are working through identifying students who could use extra support over the summer and looking at both SOL scores, growth data, as well as classroom or teacher recommendations. And we are going to initially have invites that go out to specific students. And this will take place in the month of July like normal. We'll have high school be a 4-week program, July 1 to July 26th. And elementary and middle will start a week later, July 8th through July 26th. It is Monday through Thursday, and it'll be half days. The location 6 through 12 is going to be at the high school, and just like we have in the last couple of years. And for rising 1st through 5th grades will be at the elementary school. So one thing with that, you'll notice sort of rising. So current kindergartners will be the lowest we'll go, and then our current 5th graders who are invited will actually attend with the middle school over at the high school. And that's intentionally done to go ahead and give them also some preparation for middle school and some interaction with those students as well as those teachers. And then, so current planning where we're at, We do have admin interns that have been identified who will sort of run the day-to-day and are already currently starting to plan for the summer. And so our instructional assistants and teachers, we did an application process. They have applied, they've been selected, and we're working through notifying them of sort of what their positions will be and who is selected for which ones. And then also we're working through the logistics of a variety of things such as curriculum, as well as transportation, food, and things like that that'll happen over the summer as well. And we're working on the daily schedule because this year we are going to change classes some to give students reading and math and STEM during those times. So then lastly, looking ahead, so where we're headed is designing the curriculum for it. And so we've, along with identifying students using test data, we've also been identifying what are those skills that students are most struggling with. And those are what we're going to be focusing on. We have been also reviewing some different summer school curriculum packets from different companies to take a look at things that are already vetted and put together nicely and see if that's the direction we want to go. But we're also working with our teachers on developing curriculum as well. And as I said, we're going through identifying students. Those invites for students we're looking at sending out in early April, and so that we can have everybody identified and see if they've accepted by May, so we can get transportation and meals and all that prepared for, to get bus routes and everything coordinated. And tentatively, I talked to Dr. Nichols about coming back in May just to give an update of where we're at as we're planning. So happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Miller,
Yeah.
last year, how many students participated in this program?
So last year we had approximately 350 total. Yeah. And we're looking at inviting more this year, and so that should go up some.
That was my other question was, is there a cap of how many students?
There is, because we're trying to do sort of more intensive and more targeted remediation, we are trying to cap classes at 15, and that would be the max. We're really shooting for the lower teens, 10 to 12. But we'll go up as high as 15.
So what would that mean overall?
You're gonna make me do some math here in my head. So we got 26 classes at elementary. So there, what's that come out to be? About 300, yeah, a little over 300. And then middle school, we got 12, yeah, so about a little over 100 more. And so middle and elementary, we're looking in the 400s. And then, close to 5? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. It's good somebody is. And then high school, there it's a little different because we have the recovery courses, and we'll be able to house up close to around 100 students there as well. So, yeah.
Question, Mr. Miller, with the curriculum, because I would guess that each year it could be different depending on what the students' needs are. Is that a floating a variable that you would be able to adjust to the students' needs rather than a set?
Yeah, so that's why we really rely on our teachers to do a lot of our summer curriculum planning. We were looking at getting sort of a summer packet that would give them a head start, but we really rely on them because the standards and the skills we're going to be looking for are going to change year to year to make sure that we're strengthening exactly what students have been identified for.
And how do you measure the outcomes? What's the...
Yeah, so we're working on also a pre and a post test, and we can see where they're coming in with those skills and then where they leave with those skills, so we can show growth over that time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Miller, one more question.
Yeah.
You said that you're coordinating transportation and meals. Since it's a half day, can you explain a little bit more how that's going to look?
Yeah, sure. So we provide transportation for all the students who attend, and usually that is just typical, or just like our typical transportation during the year. We have sometimes gone to more of a regional pickup at a location similar to our activity buses, but usually we try and do similar to the transportation we do during the year. And meals, we provide breakfast and lunch. For students who receive free and reduced lunch during the year, that will be still free and reduced. If they don't, then they can purchase breakfast and lunch items.
Will the lunch take place once the instruction is complete before going home?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
How many hours of actual classroom instruction will there be?
48.
Sorry, math again.
That's okay. 48. 48 hours total. 4 hours a day, 3 days or 4 days a week, 3 weeks. You checking me on that?
No, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely not. I was just going to, speaking of numbers, to run summer programs is pretty costly. This is currently funded through a combination of grant funds, ESSER funds, which are expiring in September, all-in funds, which run for another year past this. So as we get into budget presentation, not a spoiler, but you won't see cost associated with summer because we're able to do those extended pieces now through grants, and we'll continue to pursue those opportunities. But in the following budget year, you may see increased costs for summer. So right now, we do a great job putting together through grant funds, and we'll continue to do that. But that's just forecast in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
You talked about your metrics pre-tests and post-tests. Can some of those be repurposed to the regular curriculum as well?
Oh, yeah. We're sort of looking at doing the reverse. Like right now, we have tests throughout the year that we use as benchmarks, and we're looking at pulling some of those assessments and pulling out the skills specifically most missed and testing those. So yeah,
That's essentially where I was going.
yeah.
Also, you talked about how, depending upon the student population, the curriculum will vary. Are we keeping track of curriculum that we've used in the past and reusing it when possible?
This is going to look different than what we've done in the last couple of years with Summer of More. And so, but we're hoping that we can use this curriculum moving forward, definitely. Yes.
Yeah, I personally think this is one of a very important initiative, and good metrics around this are going to be real key. Good luck, Ross.
Thank you.
And board members will invite you as these sessions launch. See what I did there? As they launch, to come see it in action. And like Ross said, we'll provide an update going into summer, and then we'll provide you another one in the back-to-school report in August.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. Mr. Miller, I apologize. Next, we have a request for a CIP transfer. Mr. Hawken.
Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, Dr. Nichols, good evening. This evening I come before you to request a CIP transfer in the amount of $20,000. That is for the installation of RTU HVAC units at the George Watkins Elementary School Annex. That is 100% about the installation of those materials. We already have them purchased, so now we need to get them installed into the annex unit at George Watkins.
And board member, I'm sorry, Mr. Ram, just to add on to that before you get to the question piece. Through savings, we've been able to get these HVAC units, so that's why we're kind of in the middle of the year with an opportunity to take a step forward. So the installation would be the piece we cover.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
They look nice, but we do need to get them on top of the building.
So, granted, we're not going to have a barn building. Any questions about this? Let's go on to the next CIP transfer request.
The next CIP request is in the amount of $10,000 to do some work at the middle school cafeteria to increase our seating capacity. We have some areas that we are bringing in new furniture. There's some light construction we need to do to make sure that we're utilizing all of the available space there so that we can have a well-functioning cafeteria.
Board members, there are glass casings when you're in downstairs in the middle school cafeteria. It's really a waste of space, and by taking that out, it allows us to add additional space. So as we're looking at keeping the middle school online without adding another middle school in the near future, this just gives us an opportunity to add some additional seating there. It also would pose a safety hazard with the new seats to have kids sitting right up against that glass pane. Yeah.
How many seats, additional seats, will be provided by doing this?
I think what it really is, it's not a whole lot of additional seating. It's new seating and a new arrangement and more modern furniture. So I think it's additionally about 50 extra seats, but where we're going to be placing things, we want to stay away from the glass. So it's just as much about safety as it is additional seating.
Any additional questions? Let's move on to your last CIP request.
Certainly. The final request is in the amount of $15,000. Currently, our transportation department has 2 islands where there are 2 fuel tanks on each island. Right now, the concrete which supports those is in need of repair. It's cracking and breaking, and we want to make sure that we get that fixed before it gets any worse. That money would go to repair both of those islands at the transportation department.
Any questions?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hockman, I'm assuming that with respect to this CIP transfer request, you've submitted for bids and obtained estimates, and this is
Certainly
the best one there is?
We have very strict rules, which Ms. Haney-Morcon makes sure I always follow. So absolutely, we do exactly as we're supposed to according to the purchasing protocols.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, in that case, Mr. Pagano, because of the dollar amount, you'd have at least 3 bids or 3 bids,
Yes,
3
3.
proposals. Yep. And work through it. Unless there's a cooperative contract, but I don't think these fall under
This
that.
is a very unique type of repair. There's not as many contractors that do this type of work. So we put it out there and get as many bids as we can.
How often does the pump island need to be repaired?
Great question. Right now, we are in year 18 on these pumps. They should be repaired about every 15 years. So it is time.
And board members, keep in mind those pumps are utilized by buses. They're also utilized by New Kent Fire Rescue and the Sheriff's Department as well. So in repairing those islands, we will do one at a time so we can keep the traffic flow going and still get everybody fueled up.
It's a 2-week plan. So I think the first week would be the first island. The second week would be the second island. That way we can have buses. We'll do it at a low time in terms of traffic. I think right now, if weather permits, we'd be looking at sometime around spring break when there's less going on.
So is the school system on this?
We own, that is our transportation department. I think much of that was paid for in combination with the county.
It's ours.
I get that right?
Yes, sir. It's our property.
There we go.
Technically. We do a lot of shared services out there, but it is, yeah.
Along with pumps, I assume there are tanks as well.
There's 2 tanks underneath each one. They've been inspected. We will not have to replace the tanks. It is right now at this point only a concrete job, which is why we want to go ahead and get this done. If we wait, and we're in good place now, but it's time to do it. If we wait, there could be damage to the tanks underneath, which would obviously take that cost up a lot higher.
Would we be able to go back to the additional seating for a second?
Sure.
I was just curious if the furniture you mentioned, is that a company that you've worked with in the past to furbish like furniture for New Quinton Elementary School? And
It is. Ms. Morkheim's department has played a huge role, along with Dr. Nichols, in working with Demco, I believe.
MOI?
MOI, okay. But essentially, they've come in. I will take part in getting it installed in that part of it. They selected it, and it's a very modern look. It's time for an update there in the cafeteria. So when we're doing this, we're going to try to make sure that we put very much a new look into that cafeteria. We've done some things already to try and improve the curb appeal in there. There's been some painting that's gone on. If you've been in there recently versus a couple years ago, it's a much nicer place to eat. I think it also can help with having kids stay in their seats a little longer and help with behavior.
Ms. Cunha, it is a company that we've worked with extensively at Quinton. And then as we updated George Watkins and New Kent Elementary, some of the furniture pieces in there include library and those different components there. So it's a company that we're very familiar with and that we've worked cooperatively together on several large-scale projects. So you're welcome.
Do they offer good warranty work as far as if anything happens?
They do.
With kids, are they fairly easy to work with? And
we haven't had a lot of issues to date with anything not functioning as it should. Anytime you purchase something new, as long as it's not the fault of the user, they've done a very good job of helping us make sure it's working as it's supposed to. If they had not, I can assure you we would not be going back to them.
Just a specific incident we had at Quinton with tables that they were not put together properly, or there was a defect there. Very good service in replacing those and doing exactly what they said they would do. Yeah.
Very personalized delivery and installation as well.
Very flexible with us and our schedule so it doesn't interrupt weekends, nights, times when school is closed for students. So very flexible with us.
Is this something you think you'll be doing over the summer or before school is out?
Arrival of that would be to be determined.
I would, if I had to guess, it would be summer. It's not very easy to get that in, and I think it would make a statement as far as back to school and those kind of pieces for kids to come back in the new school year with a new setup versus turning it on a Thursday.
It's also not stock type lunchroom stuff. It's more specific to school colors and that type of thing. So,
Mr. Hockman, one more question from me. The pieces that we're removing, those are going to be sold?
we typically send those out. We have companies that will purchase things like that from us. So our plan will probably be to go that route again and get some money out of it. Yep.
So just something I want to address real quickly. The next time we go back to something, please address the chair so I can change the topic formally and help Ms. Davis with her notes. And no, we're new at this. So that being said, are we now finished with the CIP request regarding the seating in the cafeteria? Okay, let's move then back to the CIP transfer request regarding the transportation pump island repair. Any more questions regarding that? Okay, if there are no further questions, then let's move on to old business. So the school board meeting calendar update. Mr. Nichols.
Mr. Chair, thank you. So we work in partnership with the county to try to alleviate meetings on the same nights. So we actually changed our meeting schedule or our meeting vote to be January to January to coincide with theirs. Historically, the schools had done theirs in July. So we thought if we went at the same time and coordinated that we would alleviate some of that headache. We were wrong. So there are still some conflicts as the county shifted their meetings. Several times it shifted towards days that we had. So what we're proposing, board members, and happy to take feedback on this one. The first one is not until May, but would be to shift our meeting schedule so that we would not be on the same day time as a regular Board of Supervisors meeting. For instance, we were scheduled for May 6th to have our regular session. The county was not initially scheduled for May 6th, but shifted to May 6th. So we would recommend it shifting to May 13th. And you would see, for the most part, those meetings drop back 1 week. Now, I will tell you, there's no such thing as not conflicting with something. So oftentimes we will have a conflict with the Planning Commission meeting, but at least it's not a regular board meeting. So as best as we tried to avoid conflicts, we ended up in conflict. So this is a proposal to you to move out of those dates that conflicted. Be happy to take any questions. And like I said, the first one isn't till May, so we have a little bit of time, but we wanted to get your eyes on it.
Any questions?
Not a question, but a statement. I'm more inclined to stay with our continuity. I have no angst with having a meeting on the same day the Board of Supervisors have a meeting. I know that means that we go to a different place, but in terms of the schedule throughout the rest of the year, I would rather stay with the continuity of when we meet and make that a bigger issue, a larger issue than, I don't know of anything specific. I stand to be corrected, of course, of any conflict of subject matter or issues that the Board of Supervisors would be covering that would be an issue with what we're doing. So, Mr. Chair, that's my recommendation to Dr. Nichols, and I'll just leave it like this for reconsideration.
And Mr. Vart, we're happy to meet anytime you guys tell us to meet. So we're happy to keep it the same as well. So there's no heartburn or hurt on our side either. So what pleasure of the board.
Any other comments? So I'll make one in a slight rebuttal. The only thing that I'm concerned about is that people who regularly attend both school board and supervisor meetings may not be able to do so. So it'll be inconvenience for our constituents. We have to weigh the two, of course, but I'm a little torn in my mind by that consideration. Also, we don't know the agendas of the supervisors much in advance, so it will be difficult to know for sure whether subject matter may conflict. Any other comment?
Just to offer a possible bias the gift of time. If you want us to push this back, we have that luxury if you want to discuss it more as a board. Or, right now it comes before you for action tonight, but we're happy to push it a month or so. So whatever the pleasure of the board, just offering that as an opportunity.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, my other concern is how, and Dr. Nichols, perhaps you know this from the history, this is something that has occurred throughout the years. What is to say that once we put this into place that they don't change again or something else doesn't come up? Is that a realistic concern, or is this solid and you know?
There could be some movement. I mean, past years being my only point of reference when it comes to conflicts with schedules that shift due to whatever obligations there may be. So I think that's a great point, Mr. Vaughn. I don't know the answer to it, but I wouldn't tell you anything is set in stone. But this is just our best effort to shift around that.
So, Mr. Chair, that being the case, I would recommend that we not consider this for this evening, but we defer this for further discussion.
So when we come to our action items, you can present that as a motion.
Welcome.
Next on the any further comments or questions on this item? No further comments being noted. Let's move on to the superintendent's recommended budget. Ms. Morenheim?
Yes, and Ms. Moreheim's going to do the heavy lift on this. I just wanted to do a little bit of an opening. We took on the superintendent's recommended budget at our retreat and additional individual and paired meetings. Tonight, Haney is going to bring to you the superintendent's recommended budget. It is not for action this evening. We will delve into it deeper at our work session in a couple weeks. So just keep that in mind. If there are additional specific things that you would like or questions that you have, we can dive into that deeper on the 18th when it's one of 2 or 3 items that we have on the work session agenda. Right now, we're targeting this to come to you for action in April. So we have the gift of time on this as well. I believe Mr. Hathaway is going to present his recommended budget with ours as a subset on the 11th of March, so one Monday from tonight. So with that, Ms. Moreheim.
Thank you, Dr. Nichols. Mr. Chairman, board members, I'm happy to bring the superintendent's recommended budget to you. I know we have had a lot of conversation and that we brought an update at our last board meeting, so we just wanted to provide a little additional detail this evening. I won't repeat some of the information that we've already gone through. As you know, our budget process, there you go. We have held budget forums in each of our schools. We've met with division directors and principals. We do feel like we've received a lot of feedback from staff. We're very thankful that they are willing to come and share their thoughts with us. We do feel like this is a budget that we're hopeful that staff will see their input in this evening. We have parent, teacher, and community advisor group discussions with Dr. Nichols quarterly, and we thank them also for their input into this budget. Just a quick revenue outlook. We do have a general fund increase of about $4.4 million. And specifically this evening, we'll really be focusing in on the general fund. With that 4.4, it's about 1.5 million in additional state funding. There is a request to the county in $3 million in operating expense. I will say that there's also another line item where we are reducing the request in a CIP transfer, and it's reducing it from $200,000 to $100,000. So if you see a document that has the net request, it will reference a 2.9 figure. I just wanted to explain that. We still are asking for that $3 million in general operating. A bulk of our budget, and I'd say about 85% of our general fund budget, are salary and benefits. We are definitely a business of people and staff, so you will see that in these requests. We do have some FY24 adjustments from prior year's adopted budget. Mainly those include a 2% mid-year salary increase. If you recall, we did increase salaries in January for staff. So this is the cost to fully fund that for next fiscal year. We did add 2 teachers and 1 paraprofessional position in FY24, so that is also an adjustment. For FY25, we are striving towards a 3% increase for staff. You see the cost there is $944,901. In addition to that, so all of the items beneath that are in addition to that increase. So one thing that we're looking to do, finally, and I think staff can appreciate this who have been here a long time, completely decompressing our teacher salary scale. It's been a long time goal. The county and the schools have put a lot of funding into this initiative, and we're finally to that point where we can say, hopefully, that we have accomplished that. With that, I will say our starting bachelor's salary will be $52,000, and our starting master's salary will be $56,160. I do believe that we'll be competitive within the region, and I don't know, Dr. Nichols, if you want to add anything to that. What we are doing is supporting with an 8% supplement in our master's scale. We're trying to be a little bit more competitive within that scale in particular. With the decompression, we'll see probably an average of about 4.2%, kind of in the middle of the scale, to assist with that decompression of the teacher scale.
And the only thing I was going to add is just the fact that we have a budget that would fully decompress the teacher scale is somewhat historic. It is, talking to the other superintendents and other finance folks, it is something we all strive to do, to have equal percentages between each step. So as you move through the steps as a teacher, it's a real raise that mirrors each step. So because of the downturn in the economy in 2008, there were often years where there were no raises, so you would have somebody on step 10 and step 14. We're making exactly the same thing. Ms. Cunha, I'm sure you appreciate that as a former teacher, that is not a morale booster. So to be able to spread it equally across all of our steps is an incredible feat in this budget, and it will really target those folks in that 10 to 20 plus year range to kind of catch some of those things up. So it's not a straightforward percentage. It is this. It's a minimum of this, but far greater in some of those areas that were compressed. So it's hitting the right groups to even it out, if I explained that well, Haley.
It's perfect. One thing that Dr. Nichols and I have been passionate about over the last few years and also heard a lot about in our budget forums is paraprofessional pay. I will say that we have increased our scales about 10.73% just for next year, and that raises the starting wage for the paraprofessional to $15 an hour. One other thing that we have looked at is adding an additional level of a paraprofessional. We currently have a regular ed paraprofessional and a special education paraprofessional. that's one step higher. So we're looking to add a second level for paraprofessional special education. And that would be for students with significantly higher needs on an as-needed basis. So with that being said, we'd like to put an additional $139,805 into those scales. With transportation, there was one minimum wage adjustment that we needed to make for our bus aides to $13.50. With that being said, we looked at our car drivers and also our bus drivers, and our car drivers will see about a 7% increase, and our drivers about a 4% increase to get their starting wage to $19.84 per hour. This is low within the region, not so low that we don't believe that we'll be able to get drivers. We do believe that we oftentimes get folks who live in New Kent or close by to drive for us. So we do believe that we can be competitive with the salary. Administrative assistants, with the paraprofessional increase, we want to make sure that we're looking at other groups. So there will be an approximate 7 to 10% in those minimum wage adjustments as well. With our stipend scale annually, we tie that back to our bachelor teacher's salary. That is just so that we can continue to increase that salary scale and keep it in line with the bachelor's teachers step 0. So there's about an $18,598 adjustment for that scale. We do see some VRS, Virginia Retirement System rate reductions for next year. This is a savings. For our professional group, it's dropping from 16.82% to 15.23%. And for our non-professionals, 7.55 to 5.34. We are currently projecting a healthcare increase. We have not finalized our renewal. I will say that I'm very hopeful that we will be able to come to you and hopefully provide that we are not increasing employees' health care. But we make no promises. We have to wait and see where we land with our renewal. So right now we're budgeting approximately about a 3% increase on the employer side.
Some of the feedback we received from our budget sessions with employees, the 5% or the 7%, great, but if my health care is also going up significantly, which it has, it kind of doesn't completely wipe it out, but it doesn't do what we would love it to do. So what we're working really hard on with our providers to try to have that be no increase for employees so that your raise is your raise and is not dragging consumers. So, we'll keep pushing on it. We're in a much, much better position healthcare-wise. We are self-funded than we were last year. A lot of that's a lot of hard work of the team and of our staff and wellness. So we're really pushing to get that to be a net zero for our employees. So stay tuned.
For our regional programs, we are seeing an increase with Bridging Communities Regional Career and Technical Center. That increase there does include an increase that was approved after the budget was adopted for FY24 of about $8,292. So the increase for FY25 is actually $27,560. And that's just some programmatic changes that they made last year and then for next year as well. Code RVA, we're also seeing a little bit of an increase in tuition of $3,600. That's in total.
And Ms. Borgheim, I just wanted to jump in just to remind the board, in the scheme of things, Bridging Communities number is significantly higher. We also have we have 86 students at Bridging Communities right now versus Code RVA where we have 8. So proportionally, it's still a great deal and a great opportunity for our students. We just have we have the most students by far at Bridging Communities in the technical programs.
Other operating expenses to highlight are maintenance and custodial services. Of that amount, $45,422 is for our custodial services contract. Specifically, this is a CPI or Consumer Price Index increase and about $10,000 worth of additional supplies. Transportation, we're seeing a minor increase for vehicle parts and repair services. For technology, the bulk of the 416,692, specifically 401,000 of it, is for a one-to-one lease. As we've discussed and will continue to, I'm sure, looking at renewing our 3-year lease into a 4-year lease, but also including all staff laptops, all student Chromebooks, K2 devices, assistive technology, collectively all together into one lease. Safety and security. This particular line item we have come to the board in the past to fund. I'd like to build this into our general operating budget. This is specifically for travel and equipment used for the safety team. Other administrative operating expenses. Specifically, this is office supplies in our school board account that help support the district. An additional $17,000 in paper. We order paper for all of our schools and disperse it. That is increased. The cost of paper is ridiculous. $6,000 in records retention and $10,000 in other operating supplies for our human resources department. I might come back to you and adjust that a little bit. I believe with the items that we're funding currently through ESSER that we may need a little bit of additional funding as well as we continue the budget process. And then $6,000 in our insurance, our property and vehicle insurance. Additionally, for exceptional education, we are requesting $10,000 for physical therapy services that we provide through a private contractor, and also about $5,000 in health supplies. Annually, we spend about $39,000 in health services and also about $80,000 in our PT services. Graduation expenses. This is something that typically, quite frankly, we funded through year-end expenditure savings. I just would feel a little bit more comfortable having that budget line. So we're requesting to add that into the high school's budget line item. And additionally, high school athletics, this is an increase from $10,000 to $20,000. Specifically, this covers police coverage in our schools for after-school activities, events where we need that type of coverage, and additional equipment. Annually, usually we come to the school board with a year-end transfer, so we have savings and then we offer a year-end transfer amount into athletics. This is just a better way of planning so that they can make sure that they're meeting their budgeted needs as well at the school. Position request. We have spoken about a lot of these position requests, so I will not read all of them, but we might focus on just a couple. Specifically, we're looking at the resource teachers at the elementary school level. This would be able to provide one additional resource right now. We have library, art, music, PE, so having that 5th resource.
And we're seeing that for a couple of reasons. One, to provide an additional subject, as Haney mentioned, whether it is STEM or whether it is a foreign language, but also as our schools continue to grow. New Kent Elementary is once again posting 700 students. In the elementary world, that is where the teacher's common planning time is resource. So having that additional resource helps us ensure that teachers will have the same planning time in order to do the work they need to do. One strategy that schools have used before is they take that 5th class or 6th class and they break it up into the other classes. That just means that our teacher now has 32, 34 kids instead of the manageable amount that the classroom teacher has. So it allows us to do a lot of different things for our students and add an additional opportunity.
Something else to note, we are requesting to shift 2 of our instructional coaches that are at the elementary level into the general fund. These were previously funded through our ESSER grant funding. We are also asking for an additional 2 instructional coaches for the secondary schools, 1 in math and 1 in reading. We are requesting an additional ESL teacher. Right now we have 1. With the addition of Quentin and just the mileage it takes to get from one end of the campus to the other, plus in addition to the amount of kids that we have, we really are looking at adding a secondary ESL support teacher. School-based substitutes. This is something that we have been doing for a few years, and we have funded some of those through our ESSER grant. We did move the ESSER-funded school-based subs into the general fund last year. This is a request to add a second school-based sub in each of our schools. We do believe that there's a lot of paid benefit in having one individual at the school every day who knows our teachers and our staff and our students. They're much more able and willing to step in and to support. Having them there every day is definitely, I think, something that our schools have come to lean on. And I think having these 5 additional staff members as part of Team New Kent only helps us with filling vacancies for subs.
Have we done any analysis of cost difference between having school-based subs versus what we're saving from the contract that
Yes, great question. There is a markup on the substitutes that we are paying Mr. Reimer. It is a little bit hefty. We have started funding our own long-term subs for that reason. That is something that we're looking at. I'll be honest, it has been very difficult since COVID to really make sense of any of our substitute data, but we are slowly starting to get back normalized. I'll be honest, I did not put any increases for our regular substitutes. We did spend more in our substitute line item last year, but I do believe that we can get that to come down utilizing those school-based subs.
Yeah, I think if we could get that information, that would be very valuable.
Absolutely.
And the great news, Mr. Reimer, and I think that's a great question, is these school-based substitutes would be our substitutes. It would not be part of that markup piece. And as Ms. Morkheim has, we're trying to develop our own long-term sub pool of folks that can help with that. We're not at the position we can take over managing day-to-day subs internally yet, but I think in a future budget next year, the following year, you may see that request after we do a cost-benefit analysis to see, do we need to bring it in-house, and then what staffing would be required to have that.
I think also if Ms. Anderson were here, she would say that that's a great opportunity for her recruitment skills to kick in and convince all of them that they need to switch over to be full-time teachers. One more position we'll highlight is a maintenance supervisor position. With the addition of Quentin, we have 5 schools. We do have a lot of major CIP projects coming up that we've discussed, and we'll revisit also this evening. So that position will help not only with the growth in that department, with maintaining those long-term projects. Speaking of which, Mr. Reimer, do you have a question? Our capital improvement plan, I will note that the school board did approve a recommended CIP. I would like to point out that based on what you approved and then also what the county administrator has recommended in the capital improvement plan, there are 3 items that we have added to this recommended CIP, and I will be asking for this approval along with our operating budget later in April. The New Kent Middle School HVAC replacement, $1.5 million. The security cameras, which are at the athletic complex and the student parking lot at the high school, and the New Kent High School Wi-Fi network refresh were all added. Specifically, the HVAC project, we currently do have a grant for that for about $617,000 that does have a match that has been approved by the board. This 1.5 really finishes that project completely at the middle school, which was much needed. So we're very thankful for having that funded. Most of these other items we have reviewed. They have been approved. If anyone has any other questions about any of those, we can answer those questions. Next steps, we are waiting to see what the House and Senate may do. I do believe there's a possibility for some additional state funding, and we should have that information in the upcoming weeks. Like Dr. Nichols said, Mr. Hathaway will be presenting his recommended budget on the 11th, and we will have a school board public hearing on our recommended budget at our March 18th work session, and we can have some additional conversation with any updates that we have for you at that time as well. And we are looking for school board approval on April 8th And at that point, then we would wait for the county to adopt their budget. We would like to be able to get our contracts out as soon as possible. It is very hard to hire a teacher in May and June and July. This is the time that we need to be hiring staff. So as soon as possible that we can get things worked out and we feel good about it, we'd like to move forward with those contracts. Additionally, you all have in your packet a one-page flyer. So I welcome your feedback with regards to that. And if there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any other questions?
A couple of things. First and foremost, thank you for bringing us up to date. And for those of you who aren't aware of it, hopefully everyone is. We come in kind of at the middle to the tail end of the budget process as a new board. So it's been quite a laborious task on staff, and you guys have done an amazing job in breaking all of this down and making it understandable so that we can get on track and be able to complete the process. A couple of other things that I really want to emphasize mostly, and I'm going to be emphasizing this certainly in District 4, the need for the $3 million county funding. That when you look at decompression of the teacher scales, these are all things that need to be done and are long-term fixes for the staff. The teachers deserve to have this decompression done, the rates set, and that's going to come through being able to get that full request from the county for the $3 million. The other thing is to keep in mind that New Kent County has done such a great job with a lot of things, and a lot of the new residents moving in have special needs students, which ultimately that's more costly for education and transportation and a number of other things. So thank you for putting all this together. And the last thing, and I'll stop there, is for the budget process, when you see all the positions listed out, that is not a set in stone. They're not set in stone positions. There are changes that can be made with those positions, but it's a little stronger than placeholders. But those are things that can be adjusted as needed, and the board has been discussing those in the retreat. We will continue to discuss the specific needs from top to bottom on that list of things. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I'd like to also reiterate what Mr. Vaught said about the special needs burden on our school system. People are moving here because we do provide good special needs services, and that's expensive. So we need to be aware of that. And we, of course, that's a tribute to our school. And it's good that people notice that, but we have to recognize it comes with cost. Thank you, Haney.
Thank you. I'd like to point out to our exceptional education department, they've done a great job of really looking at staff and reallocating when needed. When we do have students move in who need support, there's a process called IDEA MOE that we have to meet for tests every year, so we have to be very mindful in how we're spending our exceptional education dollars. The paraprofessional that you see in the budget requested is a to be determined paraprofessional. We know that we will need it. So we're trying to plan accordingly instead of kind of putting ourselves in a situation where we won't have the opportunity. But I'd just like to thank them for their hard work and also all of the team and the staff for all that they've done to help to build this budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have our citizen comment period. Before we begin, thank you all for coming out tonight. And please note that the comments are currently limited to 3 minutes. And once the timer sounds, please wrap up and return to your seat. Oh, sorry. We're not going to comment on what you have said, but leave your contact information, everything you say, all the input, we appreciate, and it helps us. With that being said, we have one speaker on the sign-up sheet, Eve Alfonso.
I appreciate this opportunity. At the last school board meeting, our family recognized amazing work by Liz Allfield, one of the New Kent High School guidance counselors. Tonight, I'd like to recognize an English teacher at the high school, Courtney Gary. Miss Gary is an amazing teacher that works with her students where they are while also engaging with the parents. Miss Gary shows her students that she cares and that they matter. Her professionalism, expertise, and knowledge and kindness makes a difference. Our family would like to give our deepest appreciation for her passion and education, the students, and also the families. Our family would also like to recognize and appreciate our superintendent, Dr. Nichols, for his constant engagement with the student, parents, teachers, and community, to include the parent, community, and teacher advisory meetings, which many are a part of. The superintendent seems to always be present at the school and community events, while also acknowledging and encouraging our students. You can tell he has a passion for the students and the education in New Kent, and New Kent is lucky to have him, so thank you. New Kent, I'd also like to thank the New Kent County Public Schools for the weather announcements and updates and decisions that are happening the night before. That's really helpful because it helps the parents to plan, and I understand the difficulty with weather to know, but it is helpful for the parents that need to have plans for that. Lastly, I'd like to thank the school board for listening to the parents and students with our everyday issues and concerns. While they might seem small, they're very impactful to the families. And together we can develop a path to move forward to make New Kent one of the best places to learn. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we're moving on to our action items. The first action item is the approval of the fiscal year 23-24 calendar updates that was presented earlier. Do we have a motion to approve? No motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Please poll us.
Mr. Reimer?
Aye.
Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
Mr. Pagano?
Aye.
Ms. Cunha?
Aye.
Ms. Dombrowski?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Motion having passed, let's move on to the approval of the CIP transfer for the installation of the HVAC units. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Please poll us.
Mr. Reimer?
Aye.
Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
Mr. Pagano?
Aye.
Ms. Cunha?
Aye.
Ms. Dombrowski?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next on our agenda of action items is the approval of the CIP transfer for additional cafeteria seating in the middle school. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Please poll us.
Mr. Reimer?
Aye.
Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
Mr. Pagano?
Aye.
Ms. Cunha?
Aye.
Ms. Dombrowski?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is the approval of a CIP transfer to repair the pump island. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Please poll us.
Mr. Reimer?
Aye.
Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
Mr. Pagano?
Aye.
Ms. Cunha?
Aye.
Ms. Dombrowski?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
And the last item of action items is an approval of the school board meeting calendar changes. I'll entertain any motion on this action item.
Mr. Chair, I would like to request that we defer this for further discussion, please.
So there is a motion currently to defer this request until further discussion has occurred. Do I hear a second for that motion? Please poll us.
Mr. Reimer,
Aye.
Mr. Vaught,
Aye.
Mr. Pagano,
Aye.
Ms. Cunha,
Aye.
Ms. Dombrowski.
Aye.
So the motion deferring approval of the school count or the school board meeting calendar has passed. Now that ends our action items. We'll move on now to comments from the board and superintendent. Starting with Ms. Dombrowski, would you like to make any comments?
I want to thank everybody for coming and engaging with us. I'm grateful for everybody who's joined me in my office hours, had some good conversations, and I love getting to know people and understanding their thoughts and opinions on things, and just appreciate there's a lot we want to do, and realizing that it takes time in order to implement effective measures. And because of the fact that we can't meet as a board unless we make the public announcement, it does make the process slow, understandably. So I appreciate your patience as we try to accomplish everything that we're looking to do.
Thank you. Ms. Kuma?
I don't have much more to say than what Ms. Dombrowski has said. I agree with her. I thank you all for joining us this evening, and I welcome you to continue to partner with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vaught?
I just want to, once again, remind everyone this budget process is intended to be all-inclusive, and we depend on and welcome input from the community. That's what it's about. That's why we're here. We're servants to the community to do the best thing and to be good stewards with finances and responsibilities. So I encourage you to stay in touch with us through this process and give us feedback and meet with and talk to your local Board of Supervisor representatives. The $3 million that we're requesting is important. It's not just a figure to throw out and get even a fourth of or whatever. It's important that we emphasize the need for those funds for education in New Kent County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vaught. Mr. Pagano?
Thank you. To piggyback off of Mr. Vaught, the budget is a very integral and serious part of what it is that we do. For those in the public who don't recognize this, New Kent County Public Schools is the biggest entity in the county. We have the most participants, if you will. If we look at it as a business, it's a 4,000 plus people corporation. And so the money is money that's very important, necessary to advance the education of all of our children, which is the main goal of everything we're doing up here. We're working very hard to understand that process cohesively as a team and with the administration, specifically with Ms. Morgheim, who's done a fantastic job, put in a tremendous amount of work, spent a lot of time with us as a group and individually explaining these items. So thank you very much, Ms. Morgheim. Tonight, I very much enjoyed the student recognitions and participation. I mean, to be in the room with 2 state champions and a choir like that is very impressive. So I thank the students for doing that and for teachers and admin who's able to make that happen. All the admin professionals that presented tonight, thank you very much for your presentations. Public participation, always welcome. I think you've heard it many times, but this board wants to hear from you guys so that we can make the best decisions. But bear in mind that those decisions are not about me, you, or anyone else. They're about the students. That is our #1 goal here. So thank you very much for coming out. Appreciate it.
Mr. Superintendent, anything to say?
Thank you, Mr. Reimer. I just want to thank our staff and our students. As Mr. Pagano said, I have the best job in the world because I get to hang out with these awesome people all the time. And they're led by teachers and principals and paraprofessionals and coaches that just open doors for kids and opportunities. And I also want to thank the board. You've really had to, as Mr. Vaught said, come in at the midpoint at best and dig into a $50+ million budget. And you've been up to the task, and appreciate the questions and the conversations because it makes us better. And this year is flying. Tomorrow is the midpoint of the third marking period already. So we will be on the graduation stage at William & Mary before you know it and lining up for another school year. So thank you, everybody, for attending, and thank you for being part of an amazing community. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank all of you for coming out tonight. And with that, I'd like to ask for a motion to
So moved.
adjourn. We're adjourned.